So it's been a couple of months already, but here it is, Google's Pixel 4a 5G. The Pixel 4a 5G was announced alongside the Pixel 5, which I reviewed not too long ago, so if you haven't seen that video yet, I highly suggest you watch it after this one, and I'll leave that link in the description below if you're interested. But yeah, the Pixel 4a 5G basically sits between the regular 4a, which is the cheapest out of the lineup, and the flagship Pixel 5, which is the most expensive one. So let's quickly talk about its specs. Inside the Pixel 4a 5G is Qualcomm's Snapdragon 765G processor with the Adreno 620 GPU. It has 6 gigs of LPDDR4X RAM, 128 gigs of storage, and a 3800 mAh battery. There's also a 12.2 megapixel main camera with an f1.7 aperture and a 16 megapixel ultrawide with an f2.2 aperture. So it's pretty similar to the Pixel 5 minus 200 mAh in the battery and 2 GB less RAM. But the upside here is that your wallet's going to thank you for saving $200 from buying the Pixel 5. Now up front you have a really nice 6.2-inch OLED display, which unfortunately doesn't support 90Hz like the Pixel 5. It still has a Full HD Plus panel, which looks good, color seems to be accurate, images and text look clear, although viewing angles could be a little bit better. I noticed that this phone will produce some sort of rainbow effect at weird angles, so just be aware of that. Now, having used the Pixel 5 as my daily phone a few weeks back, the bigger screen is definitely nice, but I do miss that 90Hz refresh rate. It makes the Pixel 4a 5G a bit sluggish to the touch, but you probably won't notice this as much if you're coming from a phone with a 60Hz display anyways. Now, speakers on the Pixel 4a 5G is super disappointing, just like the Pixel 5. It lacks details in the low end, and while it does get relatively loud, it's just not as good as the cheaper 4a, which I'm really surprised by. The bottom firing speaker sounds loud and outputs the most audio, but the earpiece that acts as a secondary speaker doesn't sound great. The 4a sounds way better, it has way more bass, better mids, and overall better sounding speakers. I'm not sure if this is my particular review unit, but this is pretty disappointing. Now, when it comes to its build and overall look, I think the Pixel 4a 5G looks too basic. Just like the standard 4a, it's made out of soft touch polycarbonate unibody, which basically just means high quality plastic. The phone doesn't feel super cheap to the touch, but it is pretty light, which some of you may or may not like. Now, one thing that I'm sure a lot of people are going to appreciate though is the addition of a headphone jack. It's not a revolutionary feature by any means, but if you're not a fan of wireless headphones or you just don't own one for whatever reason, then with the Pixel 4a 5G you can still plug in your favorite pair of headphones and listen to your music that way, which I highly suggest you do because the speakers on the 4a 5G are pretty bad. Now, I do wish that Google offered a few more different color options like what Apple's doing or what Samsung's been doing with their smartphone lineup. This is one area that I think Google can improve on, even for their flagships. Now, you'll probably know where I'll head with this, but if you really want to do something about the plain old black color on the Pixel 4a 5G, just pick up a skin from our channel sponsor Dbrand, which makes the best and most precise skins for your Pixel device. They offer a ton of different skin options for a bunch of different devices, not just the Pixels. So if you want to spice up your device, make sure to go to dbrand.com/heymarkl or check the first link in the description below. Now, moving on to the phone's performance, it's using the same processor as the Pixel 5, which in my opinion is a pretty decent processor at this price point. It's $499 for this phone. It's not the fastest nor the best processor in 2020, but at this price range, it's pretty solid. I've used phones with a Snapdragon 865 processor in them, and comparing it to this phone, it's not a huge jump in performance in terms of day-to-day usage in my opinion. You can still play COD or PUBG or any game you want without the phone crashing or lagging. You can browse social media sites or answer emails. Everything will work just fine. But in the next few years, it will eventually start to slow down, just like any other smartphone. And I hate to be repetitive, but for a $499 smartphone, it's not bad. Now, one of the best things about the Pixel 5 was its battery life. The 4a 5G does have a bigger screen but lacks 90Hz refresh rate. The Pixel 4a 5G does have a bigger screen than the Pixel 5, but lacks that 90Hz refresh rate, so battery life in my opinion is pretty much similar to the 5, but maybe a little bit better. At the end of my usual workday around 9 or 10 p.m, I'd still have about 30 to 35% left, which in my opinion is great. If I forget to charge the phone overnight, I shouldn't have an issue using the phone the next morning and charge it before I head out. The 4a 5G doesn't have wireless charging like the Pixel 5, but it can charge up to 18 watts using the included charger. Now moving on to the best part about the Pixel are its cameras. The Pixel 4a and 5 actually share the same camera array and sensors, so in terms of photo quality, it's pretty much the same as the more expensive Pixel 5. So that means great image quality, great color reproduction, and sharpness and clarity are on point. I'm personally a fan of the Pixel's camera quality, and in my opinion, it's really hard to beat what they're doing. Now the Pixel 4a also features night sight portrait mode and portrait light just like the Pixel 5. Night sight is pretty self-explanatory. This just means that you can take portrait mode in lower lighting conditions so that you can get really clean portrait shots at night. Now portrait light on the other hand basically allows you to add extra light to illuminate your subject, but not only that, you can also move the lighting around, which is really neat, and this is something we've never really seen before from other phones. The lighting effects and final images look real, so props to Google for making this happen, because I'd love to see this feature make its way to other phones. For me, the Pixel 4a 5G is an immediate buy if you don't really care about having 90Hz refresh rate or wireless charging. This has all the core features from the Pixel 5 minus those two things, which is why I think the Pixel 4a 5G is almost the perfect Pixel phone. It's got great software, the best camera that I've used on Android, and battery life on this phone can easily last you a day and a half without charging. My only concern here are the speakers. If you like watching video or listening to music out loud, I actually still prefer the cheaper 4a out of the 3 lineup Google released this year. But other than that, I highly recommend the 4a 5G if you need an affordable phone that has incredible software and cameras and also has 5G in it. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching this quick little video. If you enjoyed what you just watched, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're getting so close to hitting 30K. You guys have been killing it lately. I appreciate all the support that you guys have given me, and yeah, I'll see you all in the next one.